Hey, what's up everybody? It's Gum. Sorry I haven't been uploading the last couple weeks. I've been busy with moving. And as you can see, we're in a new house. So, different environment. You can also probably tell from all the boxes back there. I'm not done unpacking, so I gotta make a short video. So we're not gonna be able to get games in today, but I do want to show you guys it's not a new deck, it's an oldie. And I would call it an oldie but a goodie, but it's not good. It is fun though. So, as you can tell from the title, we're playing Rainbow Road Xerneas. If you don't know, it does 10 plus 30 for each different type of Pokemon on your bench. Now, with all the different support mons that Xerneas has right now, namely Shaymin, the old one, Jirachi, always have that. Always had Volcanion as well. But more recently, within the last year, it got Dedenne and Crobat and Oricorio. And that's actually pretty big, because that means you have more draw support for Dark, Lightning, and Psychic. I mean, I guess it already had Lele before, but then you were running Lele and Jirachi, and you don't really use them that often. I'll get into that in a little bit. But basically, with all the different types of support mons that Xerneas has right now, you can fill your bench with a lot of consistency and support. You can draw into stuff that you need, and with a full bench of 8, if all of them are different types, like if you have a Xerneas, a Dedenne, a Sudowoodo, an Egg, a Flygon, Oricorio, Jirachi, and Volcanion, you will do 280 damage. Because Volcanion counts as, not Comp Search, Volcanion counts as 2 types, so full bench of 8, 2 times 3, or 8 times 3, but you're adding 1, so really 9 times 3 is 27, plus the initial 10, 280. So you're killing tag teams, and not that VMAXs are very relevant, you're 2-shotting VMAXs and you're trading well with them. Mainly, though, that you're 1-shotting tag teams, which is pretty good. You're also a Fairy type, so you hit weakness on Chomp, which is good, and ADP, which is pretty huge. So, even against the ADP, who is known for just wrecking you, like just GXing and then bringing up two prizes and winning. Like, you're like, okay, let me just Guzma Shaymin, great, Guzma Crobat, I win, right? Nah. You can actually one-shot the ADP, even if they have Fury Belt, so they're not always going to be able to do that. And with a decent bench size, you can one-shot Zacians too. Just, you have matchups you can win. Not that the deck is good or anything, not as gonna, go to tournaments and top anything. No. It's just something that you're gonna play for fun. But let's go ahead and get into it. So obviously we're running 4 Xerneas, it's our main attacker. You want to have Rainbow Force, just hitting hard, DCE and a Fairy. It's just a DCE and a Max Elixir or a DCE and a Mina. Yeah. Like I said, we're running Volk. Volk counts as 2 types in 1. It's the only basic dual type mon in the game. So it's kind of your only option for fire and water anyway. It's better to just group that into 1 mon. So we're running 2 of them because it does get that dual type thing. And if your Sky Field gets bombed, this is going to be the thing that you want to keep because that's the most damage in 1 mon that you're going to get. 1 Shaymin for setup. 1 Crobat, Dark Asset. It's literally just setup, but it's a Dark type. Dedenne change, and again, it's more draw support. Oricorio. This card is really good. I think this is way better than Lele because it helps against In, and after you spend a turn just digging and digging to find a KO, and then that Xerneas dies because 120 HP is not a lot, you're going to be able to just draw 3 cards, and that's going to get you 3 cards ahead on setting up another Xerneas. And a lot of times, if you don't need to use a supporter to dig even more after your Dance of Tribute, you're going to be able to Guzma or Mina, because you can afford to, right? And also, after you're setting up Xerneas, because you have to go through a lot of resources too, you're going to have a lot of your support mons already on the bench, or a Sky Field gets bumped in there and discard. And then you're going to get in plus KO'd. So you don't have the support mons left, you don't have an attacker set up, Oricorio is going to help you set back up again. It makes a huge difference getting into 1 and getting into 4. So we're also running a Marshadow and a Guru as a second Psychic and normal mon respectively. Marshadow is going to help you get rid of that swell. A lot of decks are running Swell, like ADPZ runs it, Roxy runs it, a few Rogue decks here and there I've seen run it. And you would think that doesn't matter, but neither does Rainbow Road. So it's kind of just Rogue deck versus Rogue deck at that point. And also Guru is a secondary normal mon. It's also good because whenever Sky Field does get bumped, the first thing you're always discarding is Shaymin. So having a second normal mon is good. It also helps you set up your fairies for Max Elixir. And it also helps you save resources because this deck digs and digs and digs a lot. And usually you don't want to discard your Sky Field or your energies. Like, Primate Wisdom to save a DCE makes a huge difference when in the long run. We're also running 2 Egg. I like 2 Egg because it makes your Great Balls and Quick Balls free. Ultra Balls. Ultra Balls and Quick Balls free. And you can have one in the discard and still have one on the bench. So I play 2. I like having 2. And for Sudowoodo and Flygon, there isn't very many options for fighting in Dragon. For fighting, you could run Sudowoodo or you could run the Marshadow GX. I think Marshadow is good. Whether or not you run it over Sudowoodo is debatable. You probably do, actually. Hard to say. It's a tough call to make. But for the sake of the video, we're just going to run Sudowoodo. And then Flygon, you only have 3 options for dragons. It's going to be Flygon, Latias, and Goomy. I don't like Latias because it doesn't stop effects, I don't think. It just sits there. It doesn't do anything, it just sits there. Goomy does something slightly better. It can keep your opponent from attacking, period. Whereas Latias, they can just go into something that doesn't have an ability and then kill it. Because 160 is not hard to hit at all. Or they can just gust around it. Same thing with Goomy. They can just gust around the Goomy, but the thing about Goomy is that it's not a 2-prizer, so they can't Great Catcher, or they're not going to gust it and just kill it. And I think it's better at stalling because it means your opponent has to go through extra resources, extra energy acceleration just to attack. So if they don't gust around it, they're probably not going to attack at all. So I do think Goomy is the second best option, but then there's Flygon. Flygon is probably the best pivot because there's just nothing else to use as a pivot. But usually you can just send a... What are you doing? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm recording a video right now. I saw Jack and I was like, what the fuck? My door is closed. Alright. You scared the shit out of me. But yeah, we're running Flygon. Flygon is the best pivot because you don't run anything else. And when you send it up, it's just like, is there something I can't kill? Is there a VMAX? Or is there a tag team with more HP? Or do I just not have the bench to kill a tag team? Voice of the Sands can just say, move. Just get out of my way. So I do think that Flygon is the best dragon for that reason. Not very many else. There's not much else support mons to run as a whole, but there's enough for every single type to where, you know, you can get away with running Xerneas as an attacker. We're running a lot of consistency. Running 4 Ultra Ball, 4 versus Seeker, 4 Quick Ball, and 4 Max Elixir. You just want to find them all the time. You always want to see those cards unless you're discarding your hand. In that case, you don't really want to see them. But we're also running 4 Sky Field. Having a Pokemon in your hand, but not having Sky Field really, really sucks. So I play 4. I also think it's important to win the Stadium War, especially against like Ultra Neck. You always want to have Sky Field in hand against Ultra Neck. Mainly to keep them from attacking, but mostly because you rely so much on your abilities to set up that if you don't have Sky Field in play, you're pretty much gonna lose. So yeah. Supporter line, we're running 3 Juniper, 1 N, 1 Mina, 1 Guzma, and 1 Colress. I was originally running 2 Colress. I didn't use it enough to really play 2. I was using Juniper most of the time. However, once you do set up that board state, a lot of times Colress is better. But before then, before you have not even a full bench, before you even have like 6 or 7 Pokemon on your bench, Juniper is pretty much always going to be better than Colress. Especially for that early game. Like, early game Juniper is way more important because you already kind of have issues with drawing. hence why you do play 4 of pretty much all your cards, all of your consistency stuff, like 8 Ball Search. Yeah, that's for a reason. That's because if you don't play 8, you're not going to draw into stuff that you need. So, also running Juniper helps a lot. The N, it's just late game disruption. It's good. It also doesn't usually hurt you late game because even if you end yourself to a low amount of cards, assuming that Xerneas died the previous turn, you can just dance a Tribute after you're in. Kind of like how Zoro could trade after in and kind of just not care about in. The one Guzma, obviously it's Guzma. You want Gust in the deck. You burst the Seeker for it. It's reusable. It's good. And then the wild card here is Mina. Mina is normally not a very good card. I still don't think Mina is that good. But it does make an impact on this deck because with all your ability draw support, you can draw into the resources you need to attack without needing to use a supporter, right? Well, then you're gonna have to rely on, you have to attach DCE most of the time, but then you have to rely on hitting an Elixir. If you have a hand to where you have every single thing that you need, except for the guaranteed Fairy Energy, the difference between hitting and missing Elixir is going to change whether or not you lose. Maybe not so much lose, maybe not so much win. But if you miss Fairy for that turn, you're probably going to lose. But Mina just says, okay, I can verse the Seeker and just find my energy guaranteed. I don't have to worry about verse the Seeker for Juniper. Hope I find a Fairy and an Elixir so I can just Primate Wisdom into the Elixir. No, I can just Mina into it. Also, Mina works when it's active, so you don't have to have a Xerneas on the bench and have to dig for the Float Stone. I don't know why. 2 Float is fine. You don't need more. But every single fucking game that I play with this deck, I go through over half my deck turn 1, and I don't find Float. I check prizes. They're never prized, but I just can't find Float. So, having Mina being able to attach to the active sometimes makes a difference. It's pretty good. And then our energy line. 4 DCE because you can only play 4. If I could play more, I wouldn't because you don't need more. If you could play more, you just play Twin Energy. But then 6 Fairy. I don't think you need more than 6. Although, I haven't extensively tested this deck. I don't even know if it wants to go second. I've been playing it like it does, but I miss the first turn attack a lot of times. I think it might be worth it just to cut an Elixir and go up to 7 Fairy, just to make sure, if you do want to go first with this deck, because you might, that you just get the turn 1 attachment, and not have to worry about attacking turn 1. Because if you get the time to manually set up a Xerneas, you're automatically ahead of the game on attachments. But if you're going second, assuming you're attacking turn 1, you have to be hitting the Elixir DCE combo every single turn. And that's not something you want to rely on very much. So, debatably cut the 4th Elixir for a 7th Fairy. And then our items, running A-Spec Comp Search is our A-Spec. Digging for DCE is good, digging for supporters is good, finding Sky Field is good. 9th Mon Search card. Comp Search is just the best A-Spec you could run in this deck. Otherwise, you'd be running, like, Dowsing, I guess. But it's like, do I really want to run Dowsing? And you might. You might want to run Dowsing because 5th Elixir, a 3rd Rod, 5th Burst Seeker, stuff like that I could see Dowsing for. Even like a 2nd Great Catcher wouldn't be terrible. So maybe you do run Dowsing. It's up to you guys to test it, mess with it, however you want. Just mess with the deck a little. We're also running Great Catcher. I was originally running Blower. Blower doesn't help at all. You never find it in the matchups you do need it for. And I think Marshadow is just better because you can search Marshadow to get rid of Swell. Garb isn't really relevant anymore outside of Ultra Neck, and that matchup isn't good anyway, so I think you just take the L. So, I just cut it for Great Catcher. Great Catcher is a gusting thing. You dig a lot of the time, so you can't Guzma if you really want to every single turn. You just don't have access to it sometimes. So, I think the Great Catcher is really good. We're also running a Rod split. I like Ordinary Rod and I like Super Rod. I was originally running Stretcher, but I found that whenever I was running Stretcher, I never put a Pokemon from discard into my hand. I was always shuffling 3 back, and I was like, you know what? Super Rod does that, but I have the chance to get fairies back, and there are some games where in order to dig for what you need, you have to ditch Fairy Energies. You just have to. You are required to do that, otherwise you're going to brick and not do enough damage and then lose. This whole deck is kind of just about hitting the nuts. It's a high roll deck. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to, you know, claim something to my viewers that isn't true. It is a high roll deck. But you want to minimize, you know, all the resources that you burn through. So I like having Super Rod more than Stretcher. And other than that, I think Ordinary Rod is really good because getting 4 things back is better than getting 3 things back. And in those games, you almost always have 2 Fairy in discard, or even if you only have 1. After a Xerneas dies, yeah, you're going to want an Ordinary Rod. And then shuffling Pokemon back is so important. Because after Sky Field gets discarded, what Mons do you keep? Well, you're going to keep Volk. You're probably going to keep your Xerneas. You're probably going to keep Oranguru. You're probably going to keep Flygon, and no, it's not Flygon, that's Flygon. And you're probably going to keep Oricorio. Stuff like that. Like, stuff like Shaymin, Crobat, DAA, Jirachi, all that stuff, you're discarding it. Which is actually not that bad, because that means after Ordinary Rod or Super Rod, they're back in deck. And Ordinary Rod, you know, you get to shuffle the energy back, and you get to shuffle those support mons back to reuse later, which is also shuffling back damage. So you're getting all these resources and options back, running different rods, running multiple rods really, but it's more so just, do I like Ordinary Rod more than Super Rod? Well, I like both of them. Let's just run both. You need multiple Pokemon recovery tools anyway, so I think running the split is, I wouldn't call it optimal, but I think it's good. I don't necessarily think the deck is optimized at all. I don't think the deck is good enough to even bother optimizing. Like, you're going to scoop versus Ultra Neck. You're going to scoop versus pretty much all control. Eggrow, probably. Although, if you did want to play this in like a fun tournament per se, I think that you would run the Exeggcute, the Blockade. Where is it? Blockade. You're gonna bench an egg sometimes anyway, just to do damage. That's why we're in 2 instead of 1, is because you could bench it and keep 1 and discard. But Blockade is going to make sure that your opponent doesn't play supporters, which is good for dolls, because you're just going to lock them out of the game. It's good for Plume, because they can't just Guzma stall something. It means they can't just AZ a bunch of Mons and then just leave you with a Burning Shadows Plume active. And it also hits into Burning Shadows Plume. It means that they can't just Stevens for energy. So if you go in Blockade into a Burning Shadows Plume, well, I guess they do have 13 turns to draw energy, because you're 13-shotting the Plume, but it's better than being able to just not do anything. Otherwise, they just go, cool, Burning Shadows Plume, I win. Well, scoop. I guess that is another thing that Flygon is useful for, is against that matchup specifically, you can Voice of the Sands, bring up anything else, and then you can suddenly attack again. Although that's probably not going to help very much. But yeah. That's all I got. I don't have time for games today. I have to unpack stuff. My grandparents are coming into town. So, yeah. Unfortunately, no games. So, I guess this is where I do my outro, right? Like I said, I've been busy moving, so I haven't uploaded the past 2 weeks. I'm trying to get better on that. I've been grinding PTCGO to get a bunch of my stuff from Darkness Ablaze, and although I did have all of this stuff, I got rid of a bunch of it for really big quick ball counts, and I picked up 2 more Tropical Beach. So I have 6 Tropical Beaches now. I want to get more. The whole reason I even picked up more in the first place was for my team to have a playset. At this point, I just want more so I can start, you know, investing it a little better so I don't have to wait as long for next sets. Any sets that come out after, I can just get all my stuff earlier. So, just accumulating wealth in the game is what I've been trying to do. But I have a post-rotation sent to Scorch list I'm working on. So, be patient with me. I'll try to get more videos out pretty soon. People have been asking me to do an updated Roxy list again. So, that might be coming next weekend. I might even make another video this weekend. Post it on Saturday or Sunday or something. So, yeah. Go check out our sponsors at Guardian Gaming. Link in the description. Use code Gumball10, get 10% off your codes. Because if you're not like me and just don't have hours a day to just grind trades, you also have to know how to do it, and not everybody does. There's just not the time to get the knowledge, not the time to spend the knowledge to know how to trade. Go pick up some codes, get you some stuff you need. Also, go check me out on Twitch. I stream Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'm going to be streaming tonight. There's way more content on my Twitch than on here. It's also way more hype, so go check me out. Also, link in the description. And, yeah, check you guys out later. Peace.